All right, now we're talking about mechanical stress. So there's something called Wolff's Law, which basically means if there's stress placed on the bone, then it has a reason to try to remodel itself. So that has to do with the fact that if you want to stimulate bone growth or maintain your calcium levels and prevent osteoporosis, you want to do weight-bearing exercises. Right? And we're not talking about waiting until you're 50, 60, 70 years old. A lot of times, and it's more significant in females, obviously, your building up of your bone mineralization and maintaining it is something that you want to focus on when you're in your 20s, 30s, things like that, instead of waiting until later on. So it has a lot to do with what you can do early on. So the more response or forces that there are placed on the bone, the more you're going to get trabeculated, you're going to develop, things like that. So it's like because of the way that the vertebra, the lines of stress are, that's where the trabeculations form. And so you're going to have some weakened areas. And then when you're talking about the femur, let's see if I can draw this a little bit better. So the weight bearing in the hips, you have from the top of your body, the pelvis is over here, and then it's sort of coming across like that. So it's displaced a little bit. You have the head of the femur here, and then you have the long shaft of the femur here. So you have the lines of force are going to, trabecular are going to kind of lay down like that. Okay, so sometimes if the bone weakens enough, what will happen is that this femoral head will drop like that. You'll have this angle of the neck of the femur will be flattened out more. And then a lot of times when you talk about osteoporosis, a lot of times people get fractures of the hip. You get these 70, 80-year-old women that break their hip. But sometimes you don't know if somebody fell and they broke their hip or their hip snapped and that caused them to fall. And a lot of times hip fractures like that can be a stepping stone injury, which next thing you know, they're in a nursing home. Next thing you know, their lifestyle deteriorates. So hip fractures can be a critical thing. So like I said, you want to make sure that you try to maintain your bone mass at an early age instead of waiting until it's had a chance to wear down. And so then a lot of times if you look at the physical forces, then when you look at this medullary cavity here, is that it's going to tend to be the thickest bone in the middle. So the compact bone is going to be thicker in the middle of the bones as opposed to the peripheral parts. And then curved bones are going to be the thickest. So like in this case here, there's going to be a lot of trabeculation in this area. So that's going to be stronger because that's a point of where force is going to be placed on it. And then if it's a curved bone, where other bones that have curves in them, they're going to tend to be strongest at the point where they might buckle. So again, and that's kind of that same picture I was trying to draw. That's obviously a better version, right? So you're going to have these lines of stress, because here's the load, the weight-bearing load right here. You have the head of the femur. It's going to cross like this. So you're going to have compression, and then you can also have torsion and different forces that are placed on the bone. So the lining up of the trabeculae is going to depend on those forces. And then now we'll talk a little bit more about calcium. And calcium is the most abundant mineral in the body, and bone is a storage bank for calcium. So 99% of the calcium that's in the body is going to be stored, or it's stored in the bones. So again, when the blood calcium is low, the osteoclasts are going to reabsorb bone. And which hormone is going to control that or stimulate that? Parathyroid is going to stimulate putting calcium back into the blood. And then calcitonin is when you're going to put calcium back into the bones. So when blood calcium is high, calcium salts are going to deposit in the bone, and this is controlled by the calcitonin, and then this is the parathyroid hormone. So now we'll talk a little bit more about bones and exercise. So muscle pulling on the bone is going to help to build the bone. The more stress you place on the bone, the more reason your body has to strengthen it and maintain the calcium levels. So the things that are going to tend to strengthen bone or stimulate bone growth and development are going to be weightlifting or weight-bearing exercises. Anything that's going to require your muscles to work against gravity. So if you're doing some type of exercise where there's gravity is eliminated, like if you're spending a long time on one of the Skylabs or something out in that atmosphere where there's no gravity, your bones are not going to have a reason to stay strong. So weightlifting, jogging, hiking, stair-stepping, aerobics, dancing, anything where you're pounding, jogging, lifting weights, things that are going to put strain on your bones, that's going to help your body to maintain the calcium. So what would be some other types of exercises that wouldn't be weight-bearing exercises?
Swimming.
What's that?
To build bone.
Or I'm saying which exercises would not be weight-bearing, or which would not stimulate bone growth. And so she's saying swimming. Right? Maybe something like yoga. Some of them, yeah, but it's not as much as that. It's already in between.
I'll show you weight bearing.
I mean, there's going to be a spectrum of this extreme is weight bearing, lifting weights, and this extreme is less weight bearing. So, maybe some of the yoga or the tai chi would be more over here, versus other things going to be on that side. Okay, so there is weight bearing involved, but which end of the spectrum are you on?
A lot of cardio machines, like ellipticals and stair-steppers,
Right.
gyms are not very high
Yeah, if you talk about an elliptical versus a treadmill, stair-steppers kind of in between. But yeah, a treadmill, you're still doing the pounding, but elliptical, in a lot of cases, non-weight bearing exercises is what you need to do. Somebody has bad knees, you're not going to have them go doing some jogging.
There are bone strengthening exercises and martial arts practices that aren't weight bearing at all. Do like.
Right. Well, like in Kill Bill, right, when they're punching that thing. That's another story. Yeah, a lot of times I try to play different videos or something like that, so yeah, I might have to get a clip of that so we can talk about bone strengthening exercises that are non-weight bearing. Because a lot of times, obviously, your lower body is a lot of weight bearing exercises, with your lower extremity, but unless you're walking on your hands or something like that, how are you going to build bone strengthening exercises in your upper body? Not everybody's going to want to punch a board for a long period of time.
If you're still using your muscles and making them pull on the bone, then it's going to go along.
Yeah. Like I said, here is, anything that requires your muscles to work against gravity. But, there's extremes of the spectrum. Obviously, the more you're actually pounding on the bone, you're going to strain it more. But anything that's, lifting weights, but it's just a matter of how you can escalate that up to increase the compression. Anybody that wanted a syllabus or an outline, we have some up here. All right, so the amount of stuff that's covered in this chapter, although it's kind of short on paper, it's still a lot of material. Okay, so we kind of finished a little bit early. If anybody has questions, we can go over that. Or, if you started talking about too much more, you start to get to the point where you're like, I can't take it anymore. So